Get her done.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. Please join us in prayer. Harry Comprud is going to be doing our prayer tonight, and then we'll follow that with the pledge to the flag.
Let us pray. Lord, as the leaders of this city come together tonight to discuss the business at hand, we ask for your guidance and direction in their discussions. I pray that the decisions made here tonight are done in the best interest of the community. Let an attitude of servanthood, unity, and respect for one another be the forefront of their discussions. I pray for the leaders of our community, their families. Keep them safe and protected. I ask each and everything in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be seated. Okay, in your packet you have the minutes from January. Everybody has looked those over. Welcome any questions and ask for a motion to approve.
Motion. Second.
Any other discussion on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, finance report, Mr. McCohen.
Thank you, Mayor. If everybody will turn in their book to the finance report, there's a typo I want to correct. Under the general fund revenues year-to-date are 8.05% below projections for the month instead of above.
Mr. McCoy, I liked it better the other way.
Well, I would too, but
I was hoping he was
now,
going to add
one of the
zero on
reasons
end.
when we get into this, our revenues were $978,858. Our receipts were $728,187 on sales tax and $126,366 on franchise and permits. The expenditures were $1,060,370, 0.06% below our year-to-date projection. We received $81,485 less receipted than expended. This is where I wanted to stop and talk to you. The property tax, the vehicles, the legal fees that we pay every year, and one half of the judge's salary is paid in January. So we're talking about $158,999 going out all in 1 month. That's actually, the expense is spread out over 12 months. So that's the reason for the less receipted in the general fund. Street fund operations, we've received went too far. Street fund revenues, $166,174, 0.68 above our projection. Sales tax receipts, $142,286, and new half-cent sales tax, $44,381. Street fund expenditures, $125,046. It's 19% below their projection right now. Sales tax improvements, we spent $3,154,400. On capital improvements, we spent $7,973. The $3 million of that sales tax improvement expenditure was for the core study on the 205 drainage issue on Prairie Creek. Economic development revenues $27,051. We're back on track on here. You know, we had reallocated, now we're back to the regular allocation on this fund. We had farm lease income of $5,473. Our sales tax was $16,288 at $5,290 worth of interest. We had an expenditure of $20,086, and that was for the Bernard Way land purchase. Capital assets, revenues $560,970. $538,641 was the new sales tax. We had $3,632 in interest and $18,697 in grant revenue from the airport. Expenditures are $141,049. It went to City Corp which is their sales tax distribution. We had admin for the camera. We had IT for the e-civis. We had animal control, parks and rec, and police. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Mr. McCoy?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Moving along, we have some commission appointments. Last month, we discussed appointing Wendell Miller and Peggy Stratton to the Planning Commission. At this point, I would like to ask the council to confirm those.
Mayor, I move that we support both Mr. Miller and Ms. Stratton for those positions.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
For the A&P Commission, Mr. Al Brown would like to serve one more term, and he's done a good job, so
Motion. Second.
we got a motion and a second on that. All in favor?
Aye.
And for the Intermodal Authority, Charles Blanchard would like to have one more term. And I also nominate him for your consideration.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, for the mayor's report, I think we'll have a little fun tonight. First off, I would like to recognize that handsome group in the back corner back there. That is the 2015 Leadership Russellville class. They came by and visited with all of the folks at City Hall today. We had a real good time. Would y'all like to stand up and let everybody recognize you? Ms. Bierman, did you want to say anything or?
Well, no, I would just like to take the opportunity to thank you guys so much today for taking the time to visit with us. This is our 26th year to do Leadership Russellville. They're a wonderful group, and we're very, very thankful that they and their organizations that they're with have dedicated time to the city and allowed them to spend this time that we do pull them away from their offices and their daily tasks. So we appreciate that very much. We appreciate the city and everybody who supports Leadership Russellville and the Chamber of Commerce. So thank you very much.
Thank you all. Congratulations. It says on here, we have a presentation from ETC Engineers, and I see some ETC engineers in the audience. Mr. Hollis?
Front center.
Yep.
It's all set up and ready to go right here. Okay. Well, it's been a long time coming. All of y'all should have a flash drive that will have tonight's presentation on it for y'all to review later. There's a couple of paper copies. If y'all need anything else on it, paper copies, come by and we'll get you what you need. ETC's here tonight to present. The presenters, first Jerry Avery is the architect on the project. Jerry's the one that makes things pretty. Will Andrews is the pool coordinator, pool engineer. He's kind of the one that makes things work. Here's your up and down presentation. I know that y'all are going to get hit with a lot at one time tonight. I mean, I'm sure most of you are going to say, hey, Matt, go for it. Let's go on and vote for it and do it. But should that not happen, we would like to try and move forward and get things worked out to where in March maybe or in a couple of weeks we could have another meeting and go on and proceed with it. We think it's time to get going on the project and it's time to turn dirt. So, and if you have any questions that either Jerry or Will cannot answer, I'll be glad to answer.
Yeah, I think so. Mayor Horton, Council, thank you for this opportunity for us to present our work to you. What we have is a conceptual design for you, and I believe you'll be able to see the scope of the project quite well. It is a 24,000 square foot aquatic center building. Has 3 party rooms, a concession area, 2 family bathrooms, manager's office, lifeguard, break room, ticket office, 2 storage rooms, and then the important parts, the 25-yard, 8-lane competition pool, 1 meter diving, 1,800 square foot therapy pool, and 800 square feet splash pad. This is the site plan. We're incorporating the existing driveway to use that. The building is oriented on a north-south orientation to take advantage of passive solar possibilities. And of course, we have to stay out of the floodplain. This is the floor plan of the building. The main pool located in the center of the facility. Therapy pool then is located to the left of that. And the splash pad play area to the right of that. You can see the party rooms up in the right-hand corner of that, which would be oriented in that manner to be adjacent to the splash pad. This is the front entry of the building. The building is primarily concrete, masonry, and the roof structure is glulam trusses. Another image of the side elevation. You can see large areas of glass on that side which look out towards the pasture and to the campus. The rear elevation of the building, we think in the future that you may incorporate an outdoor play area. So all of those bays, in between each bay are double sliding glass doors which will go out to the rear area. Large overhang on the south to control the sun. And the doors, in conjunction with the windows on the other side of the building, will be able to do some passive cooling. We'll get nice airflow through there. 3D image of the interior of the pool facilities. What we're proposing is that there will be these play features which could be incorporated into the large pool for children and teens to take advantage of, and the pool's not being used for competition. The structure, the roof structure, be quite dynamic with these large glued laminated trusses. This is the restroom facilities, 4 showers in the men's, 4 in the women's. This is just a 3D image of the office area.
This is some of the play features that we are going to look at and consider. We've got several that we're going to just show you pictures of, but all of these can go into the big pool, so we can use it sort of as a play pool when you're not having competitions or competitive practice. Our thinking is that this will help us get the most use out of the competition pool. Climbing walls are really popular these days. And And this is some of the features that we would consider for the splash pad. You know, the tippy buckets are really popular with the kids, and some spray jets for the toddlers, and maybe a mushroom. And, any questions?
Did you say laminated beams?
Yes,
So does that mean that it's wood?
yes.
In the event that this is constructed and that something doesn't work right or doesn't work as planned, does that fall back on ETC to correct the problem at their expense? If there's issues, I'm hearing about other aquatic centers around the state, not even that necessarily you guys have done, but just in general, they're having problems, one thing or another, pump sizes, water flow, things like that. Is that something that the city has protection on in the contract, in the design of this facility?
Well, we're certainly liable for our design, you know, as professionals, we have to be. It's one of the reasons for using wood, though, is a lot of the problems that we see in these aquatic centers, I've gone and looked at several of them, and steel is always a bad thing around a swimming pool. Wood and aluminum are.
May I ask a favor? Will you all pull a microphone up and speak a little more directly into that, please? Thank you.
If we wanted to look at some aquatic centers that had used steel versus those that had used a laminate, could you provide us a listing of maybe some that we might visit? I'd like to see the difference after they've aged a little while to see what the difference is between a laminate and a steel construction.
Yeah, sure. I know UAPB is one, and they had to come in and have it, all of the steel epoxy coated, and I think some materials replaced, but there are several. War Memorial is a good example of wood construction, and it's a pretty old facility, and it's still beautiful.
Which one is that?
War Memorial in
Okay.
Little Rock. Any more questions?
Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else on that, we'll do a little State of the City address. I would say right now that the state of the city of Russellville is outstanding, or maybe fabulous. I thought about using awesome, but the staff kind of deterred me from that because they said that Chum Lee on Pawn Stars uses that, and because our faces have so much similarity, they thought I shouldn't even go there. The department heads and the city staff have spent the last few weeks assembling data that validates this opinion. We've got that on file if you want to review it. Want to go through raw numbers. But here are some highlights to try to move through this fairly quickly. In 2014, the airport obtained grants totaling $278,000. Used those for glide slope navigation lights. You'll hear them called patties around the airport out there. Helps a pilot know whether he's coming in too high or too low. Runway in lighting. We cleared 20 extra acres, something that the FAA thought we should do. They sold 25% more fuel in 2014 than they did the previous year, and they supported 5,500 aircraft operations. Going forward, Bobby Day is retiring the 31st of March. We have been doing interviews, getting resumes. We should make a decision on a director in the next couple of days, and I'll share that with the council as soon as I can. Animal Control placed 371 animals into new homes. participated in several off-site events, responded to 1,641 calls, and all at the same time, our yard waste facility passed all of its inspections with ADEQ, and the council last year approved a new addition to the animal shelter that should help them better achieve their goals out there. As we discussed earlier, unfortunately, the bids that we got last week, or earlier this week, for that construction far exceeded what we had originally planned. So on a day-to-day basis now, we're going to look for ways that we can lower those bids, maybe work out something and get it more in an affordable range. We'll be working on that as we go forward. The City Planners Department actually wrote up a real good report. Well, all of the departments did. For the planner, perhaps the most important planning-related event of 2014 was the August opening of the Walmart Neighborhood Market at West Main in Vancouver. The proposal initially generated much controversy. The efforts of city staff and elected officials over many months of review and discussion addressed many of the concerns of those citizens opposed to the project and resulted in a finished product that can serve as a model for how development standards could and should be raised in the city. The benefits of enhanced building design, sensitive site layout, and the use of planted materials, screening fences, and earthen berms to minimize potential negative impacts of a large intensive use such as neighborhood market are obvious to anyone who visits the site or drives through the adjacent residential neighborhoods just to the south. The city was able to ensure these physical improvements to the site by routing the developer's proposal through a planned unit development process described in the city zoning code. However, though most city residents would probably agree that the Walmart Neighborhood Market story has a happy ending, the many problems encountered during the review process and the extraordinary length of time required to reach a final decision illuminate the pressing need to initiate a comprehensive updating of our planning-related documents, the zoning code, the land subdivision and development code, and our comprehensive plan. Of the three, the one in most need of review and updating is the comprehensive plan, as it serves as the foundation for the other two. An RFQ is being drafted for the project to update the comprehensive plan. While updates to the zoning code and land subdivision and development code could also be contracted with outside firms, those two documents can likely be updated in-house once the updated comprehensive plan has been officially done. Community development, we had 244 total construction projects, 1,208 inspections. The city of Russellville quietly added $33 million as far as cost of construction and new building. There were 127 new business permits issued in 2014. As exciting as that was, 2015, I think, right now looks like it has even more promise. We are currently working on plans with restaurants, hotels, a new health clinic on West Main. We're expecting big things and looking forward to it. Fire department responded to 2,238 emergency calls. Even with that high number, there was a minimal $1.1 million in direct damages. With that many calls and that low of $1.1 million is a lot of money, but when you're talking about damages to buildings, that's a pretty impressive response. They logged also 18,350 hours of training and certification. We had 3 retirements and 3 hires, and 2 positions promoted to captain, 1 promoted to a battalion chief. The exciting thing for 2015, we hope to address tonight, picking an architectural firm that the selection committee recommends to start that phase of the central fire station. Human Resources drafted a new safety policy, creating enhanced safety throughout the city for our employees and also for citizens, a wellness program, and started an intern program with Arkansas Tech. And also, we're kind of celebrating around here, and I think a lot of you will relate to this, 5 years with no increase in our employee health benefits, the cost of them. The IT department continued their plan. They started this 5 or 6 years ago of routinely replacing desktops and laptops and other equipment throughout the city's workforce, so that we never get into a spot where we have to buy a ton of it at one time because it's all obsolete. Put in 2 new virtual servers. And the other day we launched the new city website that is still being adjusted and tinkered with a little bit, but most people like the new format better, and once they learn how to use it, it's a lot more user-friendly. They also put in security cameras systems here, City Hall, Police Department, and at the Hughes Center. The Police Department responded to a total of 30,863 service calls. That's a 14% increase from the previous year. Officers conducted 8,700 hours of in-service training in crime scene investigation, narcotics investigation, nuclear emergency response, leadership, firearms, defensive tactics, emergency driving, on and on and on. And also we had 4 new officers attend the police academy in Camden. As an outreach to the community, the department provided and installed 53 child safety seats by 8 certified officers. They conducted their 9th annual Citizens Police Academy. They had 19 participants for that in 2014. And the 5th annual Youth Academy with 49 children attending. For 2015, the department is currently revising and incorporating 57 major policies into their operations plan and is beginning accreditation in the Arkansas Law Enforcement Accreditation Program. That's sponsored by the Arkansas Chiefs of Police. Public Works was pretty quiet in 2014. All we did was finish the overpass over the railroad at Phoenix Street, which has been a hugely successful and very popular, and finish the El Paso project. Both of those came in on budget, which is pretty good shooting for the size budgets that they use. Earlier tonight and later on, you'll hear some discussion about the O Street project. Right now, that is the biggest iron in our fire, and I'm kind of excited about where that one's going to go. The big thing for me on the O Street was the way it's been handled up to this point. A couple of weeks ago, we put out a notice that we would have a public meeting, invite anybody that wanted to come participate. And it was what I think we all hope for when we're doing one of those public meetings. We had a lot of participation from the public. Dr. Bowen and others from Arkansas Tech were there. The last 3 or 4 rows were students from Arkansas Tech. We came in not really having a direction of where we thought O Street should go, and within just days, the plan that had been presented that night was completely redone, and it's grown a little bit just about every day since, to the point that what we looked at tonight. Parks and Recreation always has a busy year. We've got the Parks and Rec Department maintains 20 parks, a total of 763 acres. That's, I think I heard Mac use the term 5 times the average for a city of our size. The total budget is $1.2 million. The sales tax is supposed to provide us with $5.8 million for construction projects, capital projects. The big one, of course, being the Aquatic Center. They've got 13 full-time employees and 15 part-time and seasonal employees. In 2014, they added Depot Park and the Waco Detention Basin Park to their inventory. Promoted Terry Thomas to Assistant Director and Matt Gray to Athletic Director. They're finishing up a complete rebuild of some of the fields and some of the facilities at Hickey Park so that we can better recruit tournaments for baseball and also provide a better park for our citizens. Their goals in 2015 are to get the aquatic center built, to construct and open the Illinois Bio North Trail at Orbit Lane. I think that one is needing striping. It was actually paved a week or so ago. That's a really nice trail for people that want to walk. They've got to update their master plan, and they'll do other improvements on additional parks and amenities that they offer. It's, I think it is pretty fabulous, pretty awesome to be in Russellville right now. But if 2014 was great, I can't wait to see what we're going to do in 2015. We got big plans. A lot of them are long-term plans, and they're ready to be put into motion. We've still got the same dedicated, trained, and equipped employees that we've had before. We have an experienced, committed, talented city council. They're familiar with each other. They're familiar with our issues. They know how to work together to get things done. Even Larry Brown is not considered a new guy anymore, even though we've been here, this is his second meeting. We really lucked out. He was informed, knowledgeable, connected, all the things that you need to fill the position he's in. And I think he's going to be another addition that's going to help move things forward. But I think it's important that we get started, that we take action. That's going to do for my State of the City report, and I'm ready to get to work if you are. With that, Mr. Tripp. No, I'm sorry, I'm skipping over our department report for this month. I'm sorry, Mr. Day. Get your last one. We don't want to hear from you anymore.
Good. Actually, Mayor and Council, I'm glad to have the excuse to talk to you and others about my favorite subject. And I'm going to recover some of what the mayor covered already. We did in highlights of 2014 and then a little look ahead to 2015. We did obtain grants for $278,500 in 2014. Consisted of two grants. One was from the FAA for $218,000, and that covers three projects. One of them is a master plan update. That work is in progress, and we've received draft chapters, the first 2 out of 6 chapters. The third chapter is expected within a couple of weeks for our review. And the lighting, the approach lighting projects, the PAPIs, or the glide slope guidance lighting on the east end of the runway, and the runway end identifier lights on the west end of the runway. The hardware for the PAPIs has been received by the contractor about a week ago. He's expecting the remainder of the hardware to be received within about a week. And once the weather permits, there's about a week of construction of installing those things. So if the weather cooperates, we could have that project, those lighting projects, done by the end of the first week of March. The second grant was from the Arkansas Department of Aeronautics, and that was for the timber clearing that the mayor mentioned. We have 300 and some acres at the airport, and 95 acres of that was in timber. And about 20 acres was close enough to the runway and the wind measuring devices that it either caused turbulence at the runway or caused the wind indicators to not tell the truth completely. We'd look up at the flag outside the terminal building and look over at the wind indicators, and they'd be telling us different things. We needed to get the trees pushed back away from them. That project, the clearing, is probably about 80% complete. The leveling, so we can bush hog it and keep it that way, is probably about 50% complete. And of course, we still have 100% of the seeding and mulching to do on that. Business-wise, the volume of fuel sold in 2014 exceeded the preceding year by 25%. That's the good news. The bad news, or the not so good news, is the preceding year was 25% lower than the year ahead of it. So I think we've seen the bottom of the economic dip there as far as aviation is concerned, and hopefully we keep seeing it go up. We did handle or support approximately 5,500 aircraft operations. You may have seen considerably larger numbers for the airport in the past. A large portion of that for us and a lot of airports where those numbers were totally estimated and kind of about, and we've been counting, and then of course we don't stay out there at night to count, so we add about 10% to count for the ones we don't get. But that also is about 1,000 more, or 25% more than the traffic in the preceding year. So it looks like we're on the upslope coming out of the economic, whatever you want to call it. The replacement avgas truck that you funded is currently being worked on by Rebel Enterprises in Ripley, Mississippi. We used the state vehicle contract program to buy a 1-ton chassis cab truck for $22,000, and that's about $10,000 less than we anticipated we'd have to pay if we just went out for bids on the retail market. And the product package, the tank and the pumps and everything for fueling planes is being refurbished and put on that, and it'll be delivered back to us hopefully before April 15th. Since we have another truck, we're not in a big pressure for schedule, and we said, you guys set your own schedule that you're comfortable with, we'll go with that, and then there's liquidated damages after that. And the end of that is April 15th. And they are working on it now, so we're optimistic on that. 2015 plans, we aren't going to do, other than finishing up 2014 projects, we aren't going to do any physical construction at the airport. We're going to complete the 2014 projects. And a couple of years ago, we bought the 10-acre farm across Elmira from the end of the runway to get control of that. And in 2015, we're going to the FAA to get that refunded. We essentially get the fair market value that we determined through appraisal and all of the costs associated with that back. So we end up possibly not costing the city anything for that, and possibly as much as $6,000 out of about $140,000. That completes what I had prepared as a report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. Are you going to come back and visit us?
I probably will. It's the best show in town.
I'm going to miss you. It's been a pleasure working with you, Mr. Day.
Well, thank you. Good night.
I think since this is your last report to us, congratulations. Enjoy your retirement, but mostly thank you for the advancements you made at the airport in your tenure over there. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Now, Chairman Tripp, do you have something for us?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. We, Finance Committee met prior to tonight's, this council meeting. We've got a long list of things to present to the council from recommendations of the Finance Committee. I'm going to group these into a few different groupings. Items number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 14 were all appropriations that were passed by the Finance Committee to present to the full council in the form of a motion.
Thank you. You heard the motion. Any other discussion? All in favor of those appropriations, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next on the list was number 6, consideration to request RFQs, to submit RFQs for construction management services for the city, and that passed Finance Committee, and that is presented in the form of a motion to the full council.
Okay, council, you heard the motion. Is there any questions? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next on the list was update about the O Street project. Mr. Jones presented his latest drawings, and I want to take just a minute to update a couple people pertaining to this motion. Mr. Jones, the present design is to run a complete street program, a complete street project up to the potential Reasoner and Parker Road connection, and the council the Finance Committee made a motion to request Mr. Jones to move forward with presenting a final design to bring back to the council, and that's in the form of a motion to the council.
Very good. And on this one, we had one person sign up to speak, Ron McDonough. Do you like to add your opinion?
Like it. I really like it. The plan's great. My wife and I saw it for the first time. This is the first time I've spoken. My wife's spoken in the past, and we were just blown away that it covers everything, and yet is very considerate of the landowners, which my wife and I now are. I just wanted to let the council know, especially those here and those in the past that supported reworking the project as presented. I appreciate Arkansas Tech and their help in this, and many others, and Public Works Director Kurt Jones did an excellent job at the meeting. I thought it was really, really productive, and especially looking at the end project. I only speak for my wife and myself. I think others will be impressed too with the creativity and look at all the angles. And personally, I want to say it means a lot to me and to my wife that the end product is so acceptable. So everybody involved, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Council, you've heard the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor, next on the list, items 8 and 9 were combined into one. That was a resolution to request the Highway Department to review pedestrian and drainage improvements for the intersection at Highway 7 and 124. And that was passed by the Finance Committee and presented to the full council in form of a motion.
Council, you heard the motion. Do we have any comments or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next on our list was regarding turf maintenance program, and the intention from the Finance Committee was to partner with the A&P Commission with up to $7,000 from city funds, and that was passed by the Finance Committee to present to the full council in the form of a motion.
Council, you heard the motion. Do we have any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next, consideration of a resolution to select a bonding company for City Corporation. The Finance Committee took Mr. Mallett and the mayor's recommendation of Cruz and Associates and Stevens Inc., which I think are partnering up to do a joint venture on our bond program, on our bond needs for our water and sewer services. And that was passed by the council, passed by the Finance Committee to present to the council in form of a motion.
Okay, council, you've heard the motion. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next, consideration of resolution to accept a bid from Hard Rock Construction in the amount of $142,387.20 for sidewalk improvements along Highway 7. That is for Parkway to O Street on the on the west side of the road. That was passed by the Finance Committee. Recommendation for the full council in form of a motion.
Okay, council, you heard the motion. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next, consideration to accept a bid from Hard Rock Construction in the amount of $204,338.80 for Barnard Way improvements, which is the back connection to ConAgra off of Elmira. That was voted by the Finance Committee to request upon approval for the full council in form of the motion.
Council, you heard the motion. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Last on our list was to reject all bids for construction of a new building for the animal control, and that was passed by the Finance Committee to reject all bids and present it to the council for approval in form of the motion.
You all heard the motion. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That all that's all you have for us,
Yes,
Mr.
Mayor,
Chairman?
we're finished. That's all we have. I'm sorry.
Chairman Stuber, Personnel Committee have anything?
We have nothing to report, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. We'll move into unfinished old business. Consideration of a resolution to authorize the mayor and city clerk to enter into an agreement for services with the Arkansas Valley Alliance for Economic Development.
Motion.
Mayor, I attended Alliance meeting this morning along with yourself and Mr. Eaton. The Alliance was pretty much agreement that we don't need to go forward with this contractual agreement at this time, and I think I haven't visited with Mr. Smith personally, but I understand that he's got some issues he's working through as well, so I would make a motion that we table this to the next meeting. Maybe we'll have more information at that time.
Just a procedural question, Mr. Smith. That's been tabled once. Can we table it again, or should we refer it back to the Finance Committee?
If you think it's going to take more than the next meeting, then maybe it should go back to committee. If we think that by the next regular council meeting, we could act on it and postpone that, may be the way to go. So it would appear maybe it may be better to go back to committee because there are things we're waiting on to see that are out of everybody's hands. So that may be better.
Given Mr.
You want to
Smith's
restate your
input,
motion?
I'll amend my motion to revert this back to the Finance Committee for further consideration.
We have a motion. Do we have-
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving into new business. Item 1, consideration of an ordinance to rezone property presently C4, neighborhood quiet business, to R2 residential for property located at 302 West 10th. Recommended for approval by the Planning Commission.
Mr. Mayor, I recommend that we approve this. Read one time by title only with a short explanation.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Mr. Attorney, would you read the ordinance?
Need to make a point of clarification. That's, when you read by title only, that is to suspend the rules.
Correct.
All right. An ordinance zoning certain realty in the city of Russellville, Arkansas for the purposes this ordinance, if passed, is rezoned properly as currently R2 to is currently C4 to R2 that is located at 302 West 10th Street, Russellville, Arkansas.
Motion.
Second.
Do we have any discussion? All in, Mr. Eaton, second. Mr. Wiley made the motion, correct? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 2, consideration of a resolution. Oh, you got to read it.
Mr. Wiley?
Yes.
Mr. Eaton? Mr. Eaton?
Aye. Whatever.
Mr. Stuber?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Richard Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Ms. Freddie Harris?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Bring up your point.
It's come to my attention that this property is supposed to close tomorrow, and the sales. Do we need to do an emergency? The realtor says yes.
Yes, it is.
So I'd like to make that motion that we go ahead and,
We've got a motion to enact the emergency
Second.
clause. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Wiley?
Yes.
Mr. Stuber?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Eaton?
Yes.
Mr. Richard Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Ms. Freddie Harris?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 2, consideration of a resolution to set a public hearing to vacate a 10-foot alley between lots 1, 2, 13, and 14, Block 11 of the Harris Agricultural School Edition.
Motion.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. All in, read this resolution, you just read it, right?
I can, I just read the title. A resolution setting a public hearing for the vacation of alley in the city of Russellville, Arkansas. This resolution sets the public hearing for next month at the regular city council time on the 19th day of March 2015 at 6 p.m. for a 10-foot alley, 10-foot right-of-way between lots 1, 2, 13, 14, and Block 11 of the Harris Agricultural School Edition to the city of Russellville, Arkansas.
Any discussion? We've got a motion and a second then. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 3, consideration of a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an agreement for architectural services by Jackson Brown Palkulik Architects for the construction of new central fire station.
I move that we consider this resolution and accept Jackson Brown Pellucid Architects for this construction project.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Mayor, during the Finance Committee, we passed something to send RFQs for construction management
Yes, sir.
that could potentially play into this project. Is it okay to proceed ahead with this, with that looming out there a couple weeks? Is it going to have any effect one way or the other is my question.
If I was following the conversation correctly last week on the construction manager method of construction, you would still have an architect
Sure.
design and develop your plans. So I think it's prudent to go ahead and get that firm in place. I don't think it matters one way or the other whether we do the construction manager. I don't think we have to have it done first.
My
Mayor?
next question is,
You know,
Just 1 second, Mr. Stuber.
I'm sorry.
at one time, we had revised a potential contract, the fee associated with it. It was brought down to save the city some money. Was this the same group that was worked on, or was it a different group? And has that fee been negotiated any, or is it just what they presented us?
It did end up being the same firm. I don't remember what fee they were at before, but it's 6.5 for their fee on this, which is in line with what everybody else was.
That is, Mr. Mayor, that is less than what the previous
Okay.
proposal was.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Stuber?
Mayor, all I was going to say was, you know, it's real important that we get an architect hired and get started on this project, because if we keep messing around, it's going to wind up just like the animal shelter. Instead of, you know, we think we've got so many dollars to build this, and we'll finally get around to taking bid, we're going to wind up 50 or 75% higher than what we anticipated.
I'll second that comment.
I agree.
Thank you.
This
And
building
I'll
ma-
say this, one of the strengths that the selection committee felt like Jackson Brown offered was the quality of the construction documents, which really helps the construction process move forward. Everybody understands what's expected and what they're bidding on, and I think that was one of one of their main attributes.
Mayor?
Yeah.
Call.
Mr. Brown.
I don't think that the fire station meets the criteria for, that's usually you get a building manager for, site manager there for, large money projects, this is, I'm not that, I don't think it's like the Aquatic Center.
But irregardless of whether we hire a construction manager or not, one of them's gonna have to be hired first.
Yeah.
That's,
So.
we need to get the design done,
know,
don't we, Mr. Stuber?
We need to get started.
I agree.
Call for the question.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Item 4, consideration of a resolution repealing Resolution 1426, which authorized an external independent audit of Arkansas Valley Economic. I think we've decided, pretty much everybody has agreed that we don't gain that much by doing another audit to tell us what the first one did. And for bookkeeping, we need to clean this up so Kathy can get that moved ahead. Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consideration, item 5 is consideration of a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to sign an irrevocable contract of obligation with the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality to provide assurances of adequate funds necessary to close the solid waste. Mr. Smith?
This resolution is simply following the state law under environment, that's ADEQ, that requires that whenever you own or operate a solid waste facility, that you have a plan in place that has funds available so that when it is ever closed, that there won't be any cost that comes from the state government. And so this is a requirement, and if we don't do this, we have to come up with a alternative requirement, which is also funding. So this is just complying with the state law. We've already done it before. They've simply revised the contract more to, they've standardized it as before we drew it up. I think the municipalities did, but it's still the same obligations.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
Just looking through this contract, I don't see any reference to funding, so can you give me an idea of, there it is, I found it, $93,500, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, no further questions.
Any other discussion? We've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 6, consideration of an ordinance approving the final plat of Airways Commercial Park Phase 2, and accepting the dedication of the easements.
Move we suspend the rules, read one time by title only with an explanation.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. We need to vote on the motion to suspend the rules. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
An ordinance approving the final plat of Airways Commercial Park Phase 2 and accepting the dedication of the easements to the city of Russellville, Arkansas, and for other purposes. This ordinance passed would accept the final plat of Airways Commercial Park Phase 2 that is shown with the attached plat labeled as Exhibit A, hereby incorporated into this ordinance, and would accept the easements that are set out, and would also require a bond to be submitted, cost of like 1.5 times the amount as approved by the city engineer.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. requesting that bond or a letter of credit. Has that been received yet at this time?
Go ahead, Mr.
Some,
Garza.
whoever can, I would,
It should be in tomorrow. The bank thinks that,
I would make a recommendation that we go ahead if we're going to approve this, but that it only be approved upon receipt of this letter of credit or the bond for the amount of it.
and I concur.
Okay. Everybody understand that one?
Yeah. Has a motion been made to adopt?
We have not.
No. Move to adopt?
Motion and a second. Mr. Wiley?
No.
Mr. Brown?
Mr. Brown.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Call the roll.
Mr. Stuber,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Wiley,
Yes.
Mr. Eaton,
Yes.
Mr. Richard Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Tripp,
Yes.
Ms. Freddie Harris.
Yes.
Motion carries.
We've been asked to consider taking action on the emergency clause.
So move. Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that?
What's the need for the emergency clause?
Mr. Garza?
The need for the emergency clause is we have a local utility company that has a scattered facility, and they're waiting on the final plat to be approved and recorded before their legal team will allow them to purchase the property, and they're eager to get started on the design. So they're kind of stuck right now. We've got a contract, and if we don't get this thing, we're going to have to extend it. We're right at that time period where the extension is going to have to be required. So we're hoping to get them out of the facilities that they're at. They're in a, like I said, they've outgrown where they're at, and they want to move to this location, bring all their facilities into that location.
I understand the need, the urgency they sense, but is there anything really driving them except that they'd like to consolidate as quickly as possible? Is there any?
They just want to make sure that they meet their construction deadlines before so they don't get into the next winter period and then delay the contract or their construction. It's going to take some time for them to design and then build, and they don't want to get stopped by the winter.
I understand. Thank you.
Not yet.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Stuber,
Yes.
Mr. Wiley,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Eaton,
Abstain.
Mr. Richard Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Tripp,
Yes.
Ms. Freddie Harris.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 7, consideration of a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk, treasurer, and finance director to enter into an agreement with TCF Equipment Financing. Mr. Mallett? Where did we leave this one? Are we ready to proceed, or?
Thank you, Mayor. It's being recommended by City Corporation staff that the city consider approval of a short-term tax-exempt financing agreement for the water replacement project not to exceed $4.3 million with TCF Equipment Financing. In accordance with provisions of Amendment 78 to the Arkansas Constitution, such financing does require a public hearing. So at this time, we just ask that if the council would set a public hearing date for this item, and we can consider approval of such item after that public hearing. So that's pretty much where we're at on this issue. I don't know that we would need to discuss it any further until that happens.
We do have 2 late agenda items. That's one of them, to set the public hearing.
Okay. And again, I'd be glad to discuss it. There's a pretty good description, narrative in your packet, but I'd be glad to take any questions on the project itself, or again, we can discuss that at the public hearing, however we want to do it.
Mr. Mayor, a point of order on this. I've got 2 copies here, but the one I think is the most recent calls resolution number, but the second word in the first sentence is an ordinance.
Should be an ordinance.
It should be an ordinance. We,
Okay.
late yesterday, I spoke with spoke with Mr. Russell, and we agreed to change it from he advised changing it to an ordinance based on some case law, which I looked up last night, and I saw his point of view on it, and I cleaned it up late last night. I missed that, and I apologize, and it will be changed. But we can't adopt it tonight based upon that case law anyway.
Does it do anything if the council wants to do a first reading, or do we need to wait on all of it till after the public hearing?
If we want to read it just for the simple fact of advising the public, it's not going to matter, because if it's going to be adopted anyway, you're going to have to suspend the rules.
Okay. Is everybody okay with that? Yes. Okay. Item 8, consideration of an ordinance establishing rates and fees for services furnished. That one, we also have a late agenda item to set a public hearing. Is that going to be the same procedurally?
They're all going to be the
Okay with
same
you?
procedurally.
And number 9, did we decide whether number 9 requires a public hearing, or?
9 does require a public hearing.
Okay. So we'll clean all of those up with the late agenda items. Is that where we're at on that?
Setting them for public hearings, yes.
Yes, okay.
Do we?
In that case, we finished the regular agenda.
Mayor, I move that we hear these late agenda items.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Late agenda item 1, consideration of a resolution to set a public hearing on Tuesday, March 10th at 5:30 regarding short-term funding for water meters.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And item 2, consideration of a resolution to set a public hearing on Tuesday, March 10th at 5:30 regarding short-term funding for water rate increase.
That should be for water rate increase.
Okay, should be for sewer,
It should be for water.
Wastewater.
Should be
wastewater.
Wastewater, and then there's a third one for water.
Okay, let's change.
There's no short-term funding for that.
I'm sorry. That was a cut and paste.
Okay, so
It should be for wastewater rate increase.
yeah, let's make this for wastewater rate increase.
March
Motion-
10th.
Take out short-term funding,
Is that March 10th?
March 10th at 5:30, correct.
Wrong with that other one.
Let's make late item 2 read, consideration of a resolution to set a public hearing on Tuesday, March 10th at 5:30 regarding wastewater rate increase. If everybody's okay with that. Mr. Smith, is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
And that,
Now,
you do
does our motion
right
cover
for
that one?
the same wording.
I'll second that if that was your motion, Mr.
We've got Mr. Wiley for the
Wiley.
motion, Mr. Eaton for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? If we could pencil in, if we'll allow a little bit of informality. Item 3, consideration of a resolution to set a public hearing on Tuesday, March 10th at 5:30 regarding water rate increase.
Another motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I believe that concludes our agenda for tonight. We had discussed making a change in our procedure. We didn't actually do it, but doing a 30-minute comment period at the end of our meetings. We do not have anybody signed up, but moving forward, if we could put that on next month's agenda, I still think we ought to experiment with that if it's okay with the council. Without
Motion to adjourn.
the motion to adjourn. Thank you.